I get a lot of requests. We'll just get straight to the point. I get a lot of requests about making pond videos, pond fishing when it comes to shellcracker and bluegill. Not so much bass, bluegill and shellcracker. Now I'm going to tell you what, it's a pleasure to do this because here in the Tennessee Valley, some of the biggest shellcracker and bluegill I've ever seen on the average has been in farm ponds. A lot of these ponds won't be but anywhere from 2 to 3 acres and less. Some of them's a lot smaller than that. I've seen some huge shellcracker in half-acre ponds. We're going to do some pond fishing for big old shell daddies and bluegill. One of the ways that I approach fishing a pond, which is, this is really important, folks, as far as finding them when they're on bed, is to walk around the edges and look for their beds. Actually look for their beds with a pair of sunglasses. And a lot of times you won't see any beds like that because let me explain this. A lot of our ponds are old and farm ponds and have been silted in over the years, and they're very, very shallow. So a lot of the beds are not visible by the eye, and some are. It depends. Each pond is different, but the ones that's not, what I do is I look on the surface of the water, and a lot of times you can see that the watercolor changes. It's different than the actual watercolor that's in the lake. It'll be kind of a murky, muddy area over the top of the bed. And what that is the fish moving back and forth, darting in and off of their bed, protecting the nest site. Because a lot of times, small bluegill are the predators. They're trying to eat the eggs that the bluegill and shellcracker are laying. Now, that's one way. Another way is early in the morning, and believe you me, this will work. As the sun is rising, I'm talking about just as the sun is rising, when there's virtually no wind on the water, you can look across a pond and see what I call an oil slick over the top of the bed. And that is just fertilization activity going on. It'll float up to the top right there, and that's from the male. And a lot of times, like I said, you can just walk around the banks and actually see the bed. Now, folks, as far as tackle is concerned, one of the best things you can do is just a hook and line when it comes to these fish. Now, if you can't see the bed, what I would suggest doing is to hook a worm, a single worm, onto a size 6 or to a size 8 Aberdeen hook. Light line, and most of the time I'll use 2-pound test line, folks, because I can get a long cast. Make long cast straight out. Now, if there's a bed there, it's going to be instant. Anything that intrudes in a bed is going to be hit. They will kill it, especially a live bait, much more than artificial baits. But just do that. Go walk around the pond and make a cast. Let the bait fall down. In a lot of cases, a lot of these ponds ain't but a couple feet deep. If you don't get bit pretty quick, move a few feet down and repeat that. And the reason for that, if you're not seeing what I'm describing to you, say if it's in the middle of the day or whatever, that's a good way to find beds. It's just by moving around. But usually, you'll see a discoloration in the water. And a lot of times you'll see activity over the top of the bed. Little bitty bluegill pop in the top of the water, because they'll accumulate a lot of times in great numbers, trying to, like I said, to eat all the eggs up. What I suggest for a first-time fisherman, whether you're you know, a young buck or even an older fellow like me, is just a size 6 or a size 8 light wire panfish hook light line, spinning reel, flimsy rod, and one red worm. I rarely use night crawlers this time of the year because here in the south it is hot. You know, we're done getting into our 80s even though it's springtime. And a red worm is just a lot better. They can take the heat better is what I'm saying. Birds. Look here, fish on. Let's see what we got right here. Now there's some big bluegill and shellcracker in here. Oh my goodness, that's a shellcracker. Let's see right here. Golly, that's what I'm talking about right there, folks. Big old shellcracker. And I mean biggins. He didn't swallow it.
No.
But you got to watch that, ain't you? We was talking about that.
If you ever see that floater dollar just a little, you better get him right then or he done swallowed it.
He'll swallow it. He sure will. That's a good fish
You want
right there.
something to eat?
I don't. Looky there. Now what we're doing is using red worms. I'm going to get right here and we're going to bait up. Now what Steve caught that on right off the bat is a red worm. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use a red worm. And I'm going to hook him just like this right here. Now what I'm doing is using the number 6 Aberdeen hook. 2-pound test vicious line. And that's all we're doing. We're going to take our worms with us right here. All right. Let's try that right there. And I want to point something out too. A lot of people, the old timers used to say, boy, you better hide that hook and all that. These fish don't know what a hook is, folks. So what I do to get quicker bites, in my opinion, or a high percentage way of fishing, is just hook him one time like that. So the worm can actually move around on the bottom a lot more. Look, a lot more natural to these fish. But look here, folks. I done got a fish on that quick. There's a lot of fish out there. They're bedding. Most people think the first full moon in May is when they bed, but that's not true. Oh, it's a bass. Look here. That's a little largemouth. But it's not May yet. And we ain't had a full moon, but these bluegill and shellcracker are bed before that. There's another one. All right, let's make a cast out there. Now what I'm doing is watching my line. Just as soon as I see that line moving or see a thump, I'm going to set the hook. There he is. Yeah, this is a good one right here now. Very important, folks, to keep them from swallowing it. As soon as you see that line move or see that thump, go ahead and set the hook. Or raise your rod up against them. That's what I'm doing. This little size 6 Aberdeen hook. This is a good fish right here. Shellcracker, keep him right there. Let's see what we got right here. We'll look at both of them. They're biting, folks. Golly, I got a tank right here now. I want you to look. What a shellcracker. We got 2. Oh my goodness. Look at there. Quit spinning, fish. I want y'all to look right there. Them are some big fish. Compare them to my hand right there. And I tell you,
They'll weigh about a pound apiece.
About a pound apiece.
There's some bigger ones out there, but most of them can be about like that.
Now these are males. I'm going to squeeze them and watch this, folks. Well, that one didn't pee. but most of the time they will when you squeeze their belly. But these are the males. The females will be a lot smaller. Look there, what a beautiful fish right there. Let's let him go. Mama Sue ain't gonna like me throwing these fish back. Alright folks, right there, that's how I got it hooked. That's the best way, in my opinion. One time. Let's go ahead. Them fish are right in there. It won't be long in that line. Now what I'm doing is watching this high-vis line. When I see it barely start moving out, I'll go ahead and set the hook. If you don't, like right there, see we done got one. If you don't, now this is a good one right here. If you don't do that, that fish will swallow that hook, and quick. This is a good fish right here. Golly. Now, do you think a shellcracker fights the hardest or a bluegill?
I think the shellcracker does.
I do too. I do too.
Always when you get them close to the bank, they'll make good line and serve. Sometimes they'll straighten out this
They will. But this is a giant, big old bluegill, folks. And I kind of hate the flip him in here with 2-pound line, but that's a heavy fish right there. We'll take a look at this one right here. That's a mule right there. And that's a northern strain bluegill. That's not a copper nose bluegill. That's a northern strain bluegill. Let's take a look at him. I want y'all to look what a fish. That is a huge gill. And that's the kind of bluegill that we have on this mountain. Farm ponds grow the biggest. Now, used to be a lot of fish like this on the river, and they still are, but they're hard to find. And usually when I do find them, it'll be right in the middle of the winter time, but that's a quality fish right there. When we catch a big shellcracker, we'll take a look at him right there. But let's let that fish go. We're not out to eat them today. But this presentation right here is very simple, folks. 2-pound line, which makes it sporty. A limber rod. This is a Crappie Max rod from Bass Pro Shop. Ultralight rod. 1000 size reel. And like I say, a 2-pound test mono. And my favorite monofilament is Vicious. It's the strongest in my opinion. And just a simple size 6 Aberdeen hook, light wire hook. There he is. Oh, he hit it. He's still there. Golly. Now that's a shellcracker. That's a big shellcracker right here. I can tell how when he took off like that. I mean, this is a big old shellcracker. It's either that or a big bluegill. Huge bluegill. Folks, this one right here is giving me all I want right here. I want y'all to look what a bluegill right here. God mercy. That's about all you want on 2-pound test line. That's about it right here, folks. Oh my. I'm going to have to retie my knot with this 2-pound line. I want y'all to look. Now, I'm going to have to show this to y'all. That's a man, right? Have you got one? Have you got... It's a shellcracker. That's a female, too. Let's see what we got right here. Golly, that's a big shellcracker. But now look at this bluegill. How tall that fish is. Y'all look at that. These are some quality fish right here, folks.
I guess if you're Richard Gene, the fishing machine, I'm Steve Thacker, the panfish whacker.
But I want you to look what a fish. This is amazing right here. Golly, what a fish. Golly, if you was to scale him, you'd have to fillet him if you was going to eat him.
Yeah.
He'd take up the whole frying pan if you just scaled him, cut his head off. Let's let him go. Golly. Now that's a sure enough big one right there, folks. Did you miss him? There's a few little ones out there hanging around them beds, but they're way out there. Them beds is way out there, folks. They're not in here close like you would think. Now a lot of these ponds, they'll bed right beside the bank, but not this one. And the reason is, I think, because this is just a real shallow pond, or it is right here. It's shallow for a long ways out. I believe that's why they're way out there like that. All right, folks, what we're going to do is go to a different farm pond, and I'm going to show you firsthand the difference in how they bed and location. Now right here, as y'all seen, those fish were way out there. I mean way out there. And the reason is, it's because how the pond is. It's a very shallow pond, especially right here in this area here. And that's perfect for bluegill to spawn. But for some reason, these fish don't want to spawn near the bank, even though the water's shallow. But we're going to go to another pond where the water's shallow, but for some reason they're going to be intact to the bank. And this is something that you'll see. Every farm pond fishes a little bit different, and what it boils down to is how much deep water is in a pond. They're all dug out differently, is what I'm getting at right now. But these fish that we're going to target here in just a second is going to be fish that you can visually see by the bank. So let's go do that. We've caught some gem dandies right here, huge fish. And this other pond, well, there's some big ones in it too. Let's put us on a new worm. After you catch a couple fish, you need that worm to be moving, and that's the secret. When they're bedding like that, you need an active bait. Whether it's a cricket or a worm, it don't make any difference. If it's moving, it's just going to be a lot better for you. So let's put a fresh one on and chunk it out there. Oh my goodness. Hey Thacker. Right in there is just absolutely full of them. Move on over there and catch them. I mean, there's all kinds of them laying out in there. If we can't catch one of these, there's something wrong with us. See all the way down through there? Folks, I see about 7 or 8 right here. Right here. Now there's 2 right here towards the bank that's pretty good size. They're shellcracker. Let's just let it fall right there. And he's got it. There he is. You talking about powerful. Y'all seeing that pole? They powerful fish. Okay. And here in the south, we got them. We got the red ear sunfish. And by Ned, we got some good ones. Okay. Yeah. Are y'all smelling what I'm stepping in? This is a giant. Hey, let me make this clear. That ain't your typical poot sniffer that goes in behind the other ones. No, That is what I call a shell daddy. Okay. Let's catch another one. All right, folks, I'm back down here again. We got a red worm right there on there, so let's see if we can do that again. There's 2 big ones right here that I see. Okay, it's falling down there to him. He didn't want to eat, so I'm going to go past him out in a little bit deeper water. because I see a couple right here. Let's see if he'll eat. He eats. There he is. Golly, man, oh man. They... Another good one. Okay. Now this one right here is half bluegill, half shellcracker. Golly. You talking about a mean combination when they do this. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about. Okay. Got him barely hooked. That's a good thing. Now, if you'll look at this fish, he's tall like a bluegill, has a bluegill shape, but look at his operculum gill flap. If you'll look, you'll see a red coloration on the outside edge. That's a hybrid. I mean, it's mixed between a bluegill and a shellcracker. They'll do that because they're bedding so close together. But that is a darn good one right there now. Let's let him go. On it. You know, springtime is a wonderful time of the year, folks. The first full moon in May, you can always count, especially here in North Alabama, that the bluegill and shellcracker are on bed, no doubt. Long-eared sunfish, same way. Red-breast sunfish, same way. Warmouth, same way. Most sunfish are. And a lot of times, if the water temperature reaches around 70 degrees, those fish will actually go on bed before the full moon in May. I want to make that clear. That's the truth. And every full moon that follows all the way through fall, as long as the water temperature don't plummet below 70, 75 degrees, these fish will bed. There'll be some bedding fish somewhere. Well, folks, we had a very good day out here fishing. That's some big bluegill and shellcracker. And they exist in a lot of these farm ponds, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do.
Some of them do and some of them don't, but we so happen to know where they're at. But I've enjoyed fishing with Steve Thacker, and I want everybody to know this. Steve Thacker is Crossville's best. Steve, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And we'll go again, and I'm going to tell y'all something. Look here. Whoa. God bless each and every one of y'all. Hey, man, hey. A drillagin. And remember, go fishing when you can, because it's